Committee meeting. Commissioner Blake will ask the blessing, and Commissioner Mason will say the pledge. If you'll stand with me, please.
Join me, dear Heavenly Father. Thank you for this day. Thank you for all you do for each and everyone here and the families they represent. Lord, be with us today as we talk about the education here in Bradley County. Be with each commissioner and our guest here. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So if I could just give the microphone reminder, please ensure your microphone is activated each time you speak to maintain clarity for the record and for those joining us remotely and for everyone here in the room to be able to hear what you're saying. I'd like to welcome our guests and committee members, Louis Alford, Mylan Blake, Tim Mason, Mayor Davis, Chairman Crime, and the others that are here in the audience. Your minutes from our last meeting are on pages 2 through 23. If you want to take a moment, I'm sorry, just 2 to 3, you'll just take a moment to look at those, and then if I could get a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Okay. We'll move on to our next agenda item, and I believe that we're going to start with item A, which is the fiscal 2026-2027 budget from the school system. And Ellen, will let you begin.
There we go. Okay. Good morning. This is just kind of a very high-level budget overview of what we're going into for fiscal year 27. We presented this to our board back at the end of February, so this is by no means final. We are still in the process of preparing and balancing the budget that will be presented towards the end of April. But this will give you an idea of where we are headed. So in this budget, we have prioritized several items from the board as far as capital projects, finishing what's in process, renovating and expanding some existing buildings, talking about new facilities and possible land purchases. As always, employee raises are a priority for the board, so we are working on getting those worked into the budget, as well as school safety and security items. And they have requested some new positions, but at this time, they are probably not going to be in the budget that is presented at the end.
So currently, these two positions, Fine Arts Coordinator and Assistant Director of Schools, are not in your budget request?
They are not present,
Okay.
no.
The Fine Arts Coordinator, would that be a position that sits the central office?
If we ever are at that opportunity to do that, they would oversee all of the fine arts in the districts. They would be considered a central office employee, but they would mostly be out in the schools overseeing and planning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This year, as we always do, we have worked with our principals and the Capital Outlay Committee to collect those requests for non-routine maintenance items. We have gotten those back and reviewed with the committee, and those will be processed for approval along with our regular budget at the end of April. This is some very early revenue projections of what we're looking at. I always feel that February is very early to project, so I suspect they'll hold to some extent. Right now, for fiscal year 26, local revenues for property tax and sales tax are the two that I focus on. We are on track to meet budget, and if those estimates hold in projecting into the future, which we typically do about a 3% growth on property tax, looking at about a 2% increase on sales tax, so I'm looking at about $500,000 of new local revenue going into the 27 budget. Our state is mostly made up by the TISA funding. We have received what that new base is going to be, which is the $7,530 per kid. We did, Dr. Cash worked very closely with state legislation this year, and we got another hold harmless on our economically disadvantaged number. That number is a very big driver in the budget, and getting that hold harmless, we're looking at another $500,000 of new revenue from the state as well. That does not account that we do not have our ADA split changes yet, nor have I seen an updated TISA number since the end of February. So, still very early. We also, because we have Title I schools in our district at the elementary level, we are held to a supplement, not supplant methodology. We talked about this a little bit last year, that we have to go through in our elementary schools and make sure that everybody is funded equitably, that our student-teacher ratios are the same across the elementary schools. So, due to that.
Okay, 1 second.
Yep.
Commissioner Blake?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam. Ellen, so you got numbers from the state, and this is, I think, your initial numbers that they give,
Yes.
and they will do, what, 3 more?
So we typically get one every month. We have not seen March's numbers yet, but we get one for March. In March, if I get April's in time, it may be reflected in the budget. Typically, the budget is done on the March estimate, and then we'll get a final one in July. That we'll make adjustments then if necessary or needed.
Okay, so the end of, the one you haven't received, the next one is one that you'll do a lot of your decision-making on.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Go ahead, Ellen.
So due to, you can go next slide. Yeah, the attrition losses, we have worked with our principals over this year and the upcoming fiscal year to work through attrition on losses of positions, because to keep us in compliance with our supplement, not supplant methodology. Last year, we attritioned out 10 positions, and this year we are looking at doing another 5 positions of attrition to keep us in compliance with our SNS methodology, so we do not get in trouble with our Title I funding.
So if I could comment about that, I think that's on page 29, the next slide, right there. So these are, in 26, you estimate 10 certified positions and 3 classified positions. And in 27, 5 and 5.
5 and 0.5.
5 and 0.5. Okay. So basically, is that, I'm just asking for clarification, 18 positions, teacher positions that come out of the classrooms? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Thank you.
Our step raises, or yes, this includes our step and our raises. This will be for all across the board, classified and certified positions. Our step raises, if you're familiar with our scale, that increases every year based on your experience. Those have significantly increased over the course of time. I think when I started 11 years ago, that number typically cost us about $500,000. We're now closer to $1 million in that step raise increase. And then it goes up from there as far as looking at a 1, 1.5, 2, or a 2.5% raise, and the total cost of that number to include the step and the percentage raise. So the percentage raise is just about equitable to a 1% raise at this point in time.
Any questions from anyone?
We do have 2 new positions we are looking to incorporate into the budget, and it's going to be a new behavior classroom. Dr. Cash can probably speak more directly to what that behavior classroom will do and how it will serve in the county.
Commissioner Alford?
Yes, go back to that percentage on your raises? The step raise goes up 1%. You said, does that also add to the 3 or 4% that you're gonna give the teachers so that that person gets a 5% if you're going up 3 or 4 or 5?
Potentially, it would be we would look at it as a total, and so if, say we did get to like the 2.5%, really they're getting a 3.5% raise because they're automatically getting that step raise.
So if all the
That's built
teachers are
in.
getting a 4% raise, like last year, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4% was
So
last
if you're on
year.
a step plan, you're gonna get an extra percent, so you're actually gonna get 5%.
Yes,
That's
so
right?
essentially in fiscal year 26, they got a 5% raise. Or I think 25 was when we did a 5%, and then this year we did a 3% and the step, so it's essentially 4.
Yeah, and just a reminder, and Ellen, I don't know what year it is, there, at a certain year, is it 25? Where the step raises are no longer included, so those step raises are phased out. And then we had,
25 years of service, you're saying?
yes,
How many you got in that range?
I don't know.
I'd have
Not
to look.
many.
But also with the mandate from the governor to raise the starting salaries, that also pushed us to have to really focus on salaries. So I think our beginning salaries right now, 54?
Yeah, we're looking at sitting around at 54,000 for a bachelor's degree with 0 years of experience, so right out of college.
Commissioner Blake.
So, not all county school employees are on a step plan, right? It's only,
Just about everybody in the county is on some sort of step. Now, not all scales step every year. Some of them are grouped from like 0 to 5, 6 to 11, but that's generally a very few small selection of classified
so
scales.
your step plan that you have here is comprehensive of all the step plans.
Yes.
All right,
Does anybody have any questions specifically to the behavior classroom?
Yes, what school will this be?
As it looks right now, it looks like Hopewell will be where we put the behavior class. We have one, well, we actually have 2 at Oak Grove. This one would take the north side. This one is some, again, a much needed piece because we have behaviors that are coming in that we need to catch early. And so that the plan is for that one to be at Hopewell. It's kind of in the middle of the county so that we can accommodate busing.
We don't necessarily always highlight the health insurance increase because we know that one is always coming. However, this year we are looking at a health insurance increase that is in the double digits. We have been told that it could be as high as 12%. I have been told that the insurance committee at the state level is trying very hard and diligently to keep it at a 10, but we have not had any signals that that has going to be happening yet, and they would not have that meeting until the 1st of May, and our budget will already be approved. So we are planning for worst case scenario at a 12% raise, which is about double what I have ever budgeted in the past in our budget. This is just a quick update on where we are in our current year undesignated fund balance. Right now, we are sitting just shy of that 7% mark that Dr. Cash and I feel very comfortable with holding. And we talk about why we do this amount is because there are various mandates of the 3 and the 5% by the state and our county resolutions. And then just as kind of a perspective item, that our payroll for 1 month, if something did happen and we had to cover it, does cost us about $7.3 million right now. So we do feel very comfortable with that 7% number because we would be able to hold 1 month of payroll if absolutely did. And then we do get a lot of recommendations from the state and the for training that they would recommend 2 months of operating expenses, but we don't feel that that's a realistic number, as that would put us at almost $19 million in fund balance.
Commissioner Alford?
Go back to that 8%. Have you ever heard of a school system ever in the state of Tennessee having to close and get into that area in the history?
in the past is that districts will receive letters of warning stating that if you don't increase your fund balance and everything, these are the actions that will take place. We have had where districts were not funded, and this is many, many years back, where they gave them a deadline date that you have to have this funded, you have to have this taken care of. I'm not aware of any being taken over by the state, just warnings and not passing a budget until you get it to where you are. So, but as far as a school system being taken over, I have not heard of that, but they do watch it very carefully. The warning letters are very strong. They do expect you to maintain what you're supposed to maintain.
Well, since they only require 3%, why would they send you warning letters unless they move this percentage up? I guess is my point.
Well, they make a recommendation. That's all they're allowed to do. But the comptroller operates very differently than the education, the state. So the comptroller is the one who watches all of that. They're really trying to look at whether you are solvable or not. In that, they also look: do you have the right fund balance that would protect your insurance, your retirement? They're looking at a whole big piece, not just what's in the bucket. It's, are you soluble in this area, and this area? So they look at a big piece.
Several years ago, I think we made a resolution to do 5%, and I guess that's got put in the background. No longer is that available, I guess, because we do still have a resolution that requires 5% only.
Mhm.
And
So the state requires 3. The local government requires 5. The school board, along with the administration, recommends 7. So we try to stay at 7. If we had any major incidents, we could cover. We're very comfortable in that 7 range. There are some districts that have 20%. I mean, there's some districts that hold a lot of money.
yeah, my point was, I guess, because I've only ever looking into that one time. I think there was one system back long time ago that the state actually had to come in and cover them up. But that was the only time I've ever heard of the
Yep.
state coming in on anything and doing anything on that. That's a question about that. Thank you.
You also have to submit a correction plan when those things happen. So with that, it's how do you get back to where you're supposed to be?
Have we ever received a warning?
Not since I have been here. We've been very well balanced. We've tried to keep our budgets and our fund balances where we don't get those notices. You're welcome.
Other questions?
And I'm going to shift gears a little bit out of Fund 141. Everything up to this point has been dedicated to 141. I'll shift into 177, which is our educational capital projects. This table and chart shows kind of where we are currently and what we budgeted this year for this particular list of projects. And we have finished out several of them, and we are in the process of closing out a few more and starting a few as well. So this is where we are on those particular projects. And as noted, Hopewell is funded in Fund 189, transferring those funds over on a reimbursement basis as we go through that project. This number is not reflective of the actual, I think, $7 million that is available in this current fiscal year. A budget amendment will come through in the May finance meeting to get us to the same number as what is currently reflected in Fund 189 original budget.
Question about Fund 177 before we move on?
What was the undesignated projects?
So right now that has slightly become designated since this conversation has happened in February. At the last board meeting we just had, we engaged Cope Architecture to do an expansion at Waterville, and Corbett will touch a little bit more on that, but that money is now actually designated to Waterville at the time.
The 947?
Yes.
So wouldn't you have to move that money from your undesignated fund balance into a line?
It's actually already sitting in a line. It's just not cost centered.
So
Okay.
The
Any-
3 million for the science wing, that's still sitting there, right? You're gonna give us an update on that eventually? I think it's on the, is it
It
on the
is.
agenda?
It's in the
Yeah.
packet.
Okay, I wait.
Any more questions for Ellen? Thank you, Ellen.
Bring you up to speed on the current projects. Hopewell, recall, total of 3 phases is $15.1 million project. Thank you for your investment there. We are currently underway in phase 1. We're roughly, I don't want to jinx them, but we're about 6 weeks ahead of schedule, and prepared to roll from phase 1 into phase 2. Phase 2 is currently out to bid. You want to go to the next slide? So we're under construction. We're about 85% complete with the building. The exteriors just lacks some metal panels and sidewalk hardscape and landscape. The interior is coming along very, very well. We should have elevator inspections by the end of this week. Phase 2 documents are complete. Phase 2 documents are out for bid. And I'm hopeful by the end of April, we'll be able to close out phase 1, get a CO on phase 1, and roll directly into phase 2. And at the end of the school year, demo the dungeon.
So Hopewell ends up with 10 new classrooms?
So
Is that,
12 new classrooms, 4 CDC and 8 conventional.
okay.
And
So,
that's just phase 1. Phase 2 will have the new music room and gymnasium. Phase 3 will relocate the library.
so the teachers for the 12 new classrooms, do you have those teachers already?
I think it's me. There you go. What you have is you have the 6 teachers that were in 4th and 5th that are moving over. And then you have the 4 from CDC that are moving down. So all of those classrooms are finished. So they're just making the switch.
So you already have the staff
Yes.
to move into those rooms? There's
Yes.
no additional new staff
No.
for classrooms?
No,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
No anticipation of any change order. And phase 1 has gone well. Phase 2 and 3, but it's gone beautifully. Next slide, Parkview Elementary. We had some weather delays. It's been kind of squirrely for the last few weeks, but there's two buildings, total, or 2 sections. There's a total of 4 classrooms being added to the east wing and 4 on the west wing. And you can see we've got walls going up on one side, and the slab was just poured on the other side yesterday. We are still on track, even though we're a little bit delayed with weather. We're still on track. We're still on budget, first of all. Still on track for completion in June, and have those classrooms available for the fall start of school.
And do you have teachers for those classrooms?
We do. One of the things that will happen where Parkview has, lack of a better word, put people just in spaces to conduct, but we don't have all of those classes filled because they are actually built for future incoming students. So you have some that are shifting out of where we had spaces that were being used for extra teachers, psychologists, all of those. Those will shift, but then you'll still have room for future growth.
Any questions from anyone else?
And then the last one, the Science Wing Edition, the construction documents are complete. We have received proposals for construction management at risk, our general contractors. We're holding on any announcement of that because the FEMA funding was delayed with Homeland Security being closed. Our understanding, to update you today, our understanding is that everything has moved from FEMA. The monies have been moved, and everything is in FEMA's hands at this point, and that the state of Tennessee is now working on the TEMA contract. Once that is established, then things can resume and progress can be had. But right now, we're waiting on the state to. We've been waiting on the feds, and now we're waiting on the state to create the contract. And that contract is between FEMA, and it will tell us what the requirements are for us spending FEMA dollars. So once we have that contract, we can resume activities there. But right now, it's basically on hold, functionally on hold.
Commissioner
Do you
Offler?
have any kind of update on that other than hopeful?
You know,
I know
hope is-
we've been talking about this now for what, 3 years now?
We have been, and hope is not a strategy, but when the feds are involved, it's an unfortunate reality. Our congressional delegation has been hugely helpful. Our local, our state delegation has been hugely helpful in trying to expedite that. It was actually assigned, and things shifted from the feds to the state in a period of time when Homeland Security was actually closed. I'm not really sure how they did that, but cheers
My
to
memory
Congressman
serves me
Washington
right,
Senator
Doug. Last
Hagerty.
time we met, it was already in the state's hands.
All the approvals were in the state hands. The money had never transferred. And now, it's my understanding, everything's in the states at this point, and they are working, TEMA is working on that contract.
So to sum it up, the funds are available. The contract is being worked on between what the federal government thinks and before we can start drawing down or doing anything. So the money has been allocated and is at the state.
Those are the active projects. Happy to field any questions about those or anything else.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item B, which is projected district enrollment numbers.
So let me start by saying the enrollment numbers fluctuate greatly. They're still working with the systems that they've transferred everything into. So from a daily basis, when you pull, so we pulled the last numbers that we had, and after we've pulled that, I think you've got 9523. But what's really happening, you're now at 9669. So our projected enrollment for the coming year is somewhere around the 9795 mark. Your preschool is on all of our campuses. That's a separate money that flows through, but it is allocated to the state and to the districts. We have a requirement now for a 30-day open enrollment before school starts. So we will open that up sometime late April, early May, and then you have 15. You have to have at least 14 days where you are allowing anyone to apply. And the rules now say unless you don't have space, that you should take them unless there are extenuating circumstances. So that open enrollment again will be somewhere late April, early May. And then you have to, again, place all your openings online so that families see where the openings are and they can apply at their leisure. So in the end, I can't tell you what we're going to end up with. I can tell you we're predicted between 965 and 97.
So the numbers that we were providing aren't correct, right?
They are not correct.
So, because if I look at the numbers from, like if I look at 24-25 for Black Fox, I think they were at 488, and for 25-26, the number on this sheet shows 449, which would show a decrease of 119 students at Black Fox.
And that is not correct.
Okay.
I will get with Wendy and run another sheet to send to y'all, but this is not correct.
Okay. Because my only concern is if these numbers are correct, the growth in the school system doesn't reflect the growth that we're seeing in the county.
Right, which is not accurate. That's what I
Okay.
said. These are not correct, so I don't want you to depend on these. I will tell you that we had a much higher kindergarten enrollment. When we did the kindergarten rock, it was much higher than what we had last year. They're still enrolling, and so your reflective numbers are not accurate.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we'll have an accurate number until mid-May, And then in July, June, July, they'll enroll again, but these are not accurate. I even looked at my enrollment for virtual school. And again, remember, we're pulling these numbers from the state. What's sitting in our classrooms, sometimes it matches and sometimes it doesn't. So we're kind of in that
What,
limbo.
can you give us the numbers that are actually sitting in the classroom?
We can, but what you have now is not here, so I can work on that, yeah.
Okay. And then do you know how many students that have left Briley County Schools from the choice scholarships?
The only ones that I'm aware of, and I would have to pull that for you, but the last time that I looked, we had about 8 students that transferred into the private schools that we knew of. I will tell you, we're having a lot of students whose families, for whatever reason, are choosing to homeschool. It's not as large as we've ever had before, but we're seeing more of a movement in that direction, and we're not sure why that's happening. And it's happening across the state.
Yeah, and I read this morning where they're looking for the 26-27 school system to increase the number of vouchers from 20,000 to 40,000, and
Yeah.
that they believe that will pass.
Yep.
Are you hearing that or
Well,
not?
what I heard, and it was this week before they started, there is an amendment that was in finance that reduces it down to 35 instead of 40, but it's still a huge number.
Commissioner Blake?
Hey, Metro, you just mentioned you had to put your openings online.
Hmm.
Can you elaborate on what that?
Yes, the
So we're-
law, and when I met with my supervisors this week, I read, so we have to post the number of available seats. So let's just say that
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick Black Fox, okay? So Black Fox, I might have a 5th grade classroom that across 5th grade, I could take 5 more students. I have to post that online that says I have 5 vacancies, and I have to give that 14 days for people to enroll in that.
So you have, in your example, 5 open seats for a certain grade,
It has to be by grade.
a grade over at a certain school, but that doesn't mean someone from Polk County can come in, right? I mean,
That language is not in there, but it skirts it. And if you know, there was an open enrollment bill that ran this year that barely failed. So I do see that probably coming in the near future. But this one just says open enrollment within your county and regions.
and it,
So that would mean the city and the county we would have to accommodate that.
and is this for all schools, elementary, middle, and high school?
It is.
I know. Okay, I'll dig into that a little bit more. The
Well,
other one-
I'll send you the bill. I'll send you the Tennessee code for
like,
it.
I have never heard that.
Yep, it's in Tennessee
new.
code.
I guess this might be you, but your ADA numbers, have you calculated the impact on there? Because I was over at the city and and we're talking percentages, not total numbers, because you can have the same amount, but the percentages change, right? So they're thinking that they're going up.
We have not seen the official documentation from the state at this time that shows the new ADA numbers. So I
Okay,
have
so
not made it.
they're guessing as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. That's
Yeah,
not fair.
I don't know. I have not done anything to adjust for that. That is still a blank line item in my local revenue projections.
But a half a point or a point makes a big difference because of
Huge.
your 141 and all the ramifications downstream.
Yes.
And Commissioner Blake, that's ADA is also weighted. So a lot of it depends on your CTE numbers and what they're in. It also depends on your ESL numbers because they get weighted higher. So it's not just attendance, it's each one of those has a weight with it. So,
I don't think they got into, there
Yeah.
was just warm body, warm kids.
Yeah.
That they're looking at their percentages going up. Not the total number, but the percentage.
So if we could go back to this, where you have to post the number of available seats online, do you post it on the county website or does each individual school post theirs?
it's on the county website.
Is it posted currently?
It is not, because we haven't established that open enrollment period. You have to establish a 30-day open enrollment period.
I can only imagine the maintenance nightmare keeping that number accurate unless you've got a dedicated webmaster or somebody.
Well, you're,
Unless
like,
it's
if we're
dynamic.
enrolling a student in our student information system, it tells me grade, school, everything, and then those just get fed to the IT department, and they would rotate those numbers.
So, like, I guess Hopewell, you're getting ready to increase your capacity. So you're
Mhm.
gonna have to put that all online.
Yes,
So the more you expand the elementary schools or any of your schools, the more you're going to be advertising for slots or
Yes.
seats.
yes, sir.
And this is the first year you've had to do that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So will you do it like in the summer before school starts, or?
Yes,
And this is-
we do, we do have to have that 30-day window, so we're hoping that, by and I actually don't have a date, but we want it done before summer. We may have to move in a little bit into June, because we have to also have summer school. So, but we're looking at least before mid-June to have that taken care of.
Sorry,
in-
one more. And this is required of all LEA, all school systems.
Yes,
So
it i-
Cleveland, Polk,
I'll
everybody's
send,
gonna have to have these numbers.
I'll send it to you. Yes.
Yeah.
But if I don't have capacity, I just put at capacity.
Well, where I'm getting at is that, if other school systems have to, then we can go look and see how much capacity they have as well, versus, that. But
I'll send it to
I
you.
missed one,
I'll send it
I
to
would
you.
have talked to our legislative people on this one, because it puts I guess another unfunded mandate.
Yeah, I mean, I have to have someone watching the site and updating the sites, and
And then when the numbers show that you have X amount, and then when, parent comes over and says, oh, the system says you got X amount, and you're like, well, that was as of last week and it's changed, you're gonna have gripey parents.
and if you and it also states in there, if let's say that I have two seats available in second grade at, let's just do Black Fox again, but I have 4 families that apply, then you have to do a lottery. So it's not like when you applied, it's because you also have to get student records, you have to look at their attendance, and you have to look at their disciplinary. So if they have attendance issues or disciplinary issues, that could eliminate the school from having to enroll them. But if there are no issues and you have more people apply than you have seats, you have to do a lottery.
And I guess the other issue there is that, okay, you have, seats, and then take someone in from out of district or out of zone, what have you, and then you have someone who is in district, in zone, and now you don't have capacity for them.
It does allow us to hold, and there's not a percentage, but hold the number of seats that we predict would be filled, because I'll take Prospect for entrance. Prospect typically, it is almost into September, and he typically has a large influx of students that are zoned for Prospect. So I have a pattern of that. So I can hold that number of seats that I've seen a pattern. These are seats that we predict that are above our typical numbers. So I can hold. There's language in there that allows me to reserve seats for in county zone students.
That makes sense.
So during this 30-day period, if I come up, do you have to publicly advertise what the 30-day period is?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on site. I mean, it's on the website.
And so on day one, if I come to apply for my child to go to Black Fox, I'm not told on day one that I'm in. You have to wait till the end of the 30 days.
You do not, it does not say that you have to wait, but I have to wait for your records. So if I get your records and what they're looking for, what the schools will be looking for, are there attendance issues? Are there disciplinary issues? Is there anything that's basically the only 2 outs you have.
Commissioner Alford, I'm sorry.
But at the end of 30 days, you can go back to what you normally do.
Does it looks to me like the state is requiring you to keep every room capacity?
It appears that way.
Is that not a disadvantage? In other words, smaller classrooms has always been better than packed classrooms, you might say. And the point, I know the money's that, where the money follows the students, but why do we push hard all the time to pack classrooms with maximum other than for money reasons? 'cause I know my wife was a first grade teacher for years, and if she had 18 kids, she'd come home happy as a pig in slop, excuse my English, but, you know, and I don't think there'd be a teacher in the whole state that wouldn't be happy to have 18 instead of 20 or 23 rather than 25 kids.
I am sure,
So
but
I
there-
guess my question is, why are we packing the classrooms maximum other than for money?
Well, what I would tell you is it's going to go back to parental choice. But remember, I have class size averages that I have to meet too. So I can't go above those class size averages. So in that K3, your class size average is 20. So I could have one class that may have hit 25, but the rest of them are under that. But my average has to be 20. I can't go beyond that.
Other questions? Okay, Dr. Cash. Any other questions about projected district enrollment numbers? And you'll send those to Lori for
I
us?
will. It may take me a little bit. I don't.
Yes.
Again, they fluctuate. They fluctuate from yesterday to today.
So I guess, I guess one question I would have would be related to all the expansion that we're doing. I mean, Hopewell, we know. Waterville, and I guess, you know, once again, I look at this number and it says you're down 107, but you say that's not
It-
accurate. So is the expansion at Waterville, does that really need to happen right now?
It does, because I'm not expanding for future growth. What I'm expanding is to take the kids out of spaces that I have them now that were not intended for a classroom. That allows me so I have 2 fourth grades outside right now. I have
In the portables?
in the portables, and then I have 2 more classes that are, and I'm not sure whether they're pre-K or K. I think they're pre-K. They're special ed classes. So those are outside because I don't have capacity inside because I've taken other classrooms that I had to use. We're just taking the current population that we have and bringing them back in the building.
Dr. Cash, if I may, you got Hopewell coming online here pretty soon. What, a year to 28, I think, September 28. You're going to have to rezone. I know it's not a fun
Yeah.
topic for our school board members, and but that's in their purview. I mean, you're going to have to rezone, and wouldn't that shift some of these expectations for expansions with Waterville, Parkview? I mean, I know Hopewell's over on this side of the county, and they're on the south, but
Well,
you gotta be.
to be honest with you, we look at that all the time because before we build, we look at what subdivisions are going in, how does that impact, but we also look at how do we rezone to let's say that I've got a school that is truly at capacity but I can rezone and shift that. We're looking at that all the time.
I mean, obviously, state the obvious is when you increase capacity at Hopewell, that was supposed to relieve some of the pressures from other schools to rezoning.
Well, Hopewell, the initial move with Hopewell was to take those teachers that were in that older building and all of that wasn't exactly prime. That was actually to move those into a more standard building. That wasn't really for expansion, right?
Right. To get rid of the
Yeah. The-
dungeon.
yeah,
Is that
I think,
the
yeah.
right word? I don't know
That's correct.
politically
Yeah.
correct what, but anyway, to upgrade the facilities, right? But there was also some capacity increases, right? The cafeteria moved over.
Yeah,
and
your
then,
your cafeteria, well, the cafeteria will have a
but
small,
more capacity, more,
yes,
right?
and
So
it
eliminate.
actually needed that to happen anyway. And then just replacing the gym, building a new gym, moving the library. But in that library section, you are also adding offices and PT rooms that have taken up so much space in that building now. So we're creating more usable space in that area.
Right. So I guess at a higher, more abstract level, when you increase capacity at any of your schools, elementary, I guess, it should not just be kind of what's there right there. It should also help relieve pressure from other schools that are maybe on the border or going
Right.
over. I
Right.
mean,
So-
rezoning is not a fun topic. I know.
It
but-
is not, but in the end, it's responsible. What we have to do though is we have to stagger that. So let's say that you're rezoning and you have a family that may have a 4th or 5th grader. They've been at that school the whole time. So we allow them to stay, but they have to provide their own transportation because my buses are no longer going to pick that up. My buses are going over here. So that's one of the things that as a district that I already have my transportation director looking at, hey, we're gonna have to have a rezoning plan for this area around Parkview. And because I've got some like Michigan Avenue is almost at, well, they are at capacity. So we will start looking at rezoning to how do we reduce that? But I also have to be careful of new subdivisions that are going in that might feed. But we've got that one subdivision that we thought was going to explode pretty fast. It's on hold, so I don't feel the pressure as much as I did a year ago to do a new school. I don't feel that pressure yet, but I can rezone some. Once we get that Parkview addition, I can look at some rezoning.
All
Not
right.
popular, but
I know, and I'm gonna probably get
so I'll
myself in
just tell them.
get myself in
Commissioner
trouble
Blake
here.
said,
Yeah, do that. So, when you do those studies, and I'm glad you do, you have, I'm going by memory, which I shouldn't do, but you have 3 schools sitting right across the street from new city development.
mhm,
I think Parkview, I think Prospect is probably one, and
Yeah.
now North Lee.
Hopefully.
So when you do all your calculations and your studies and all that, do you calculate the fact that you've got a subdivision of X amount of homes literally right across the street from all 3 of those, right? Well, not Prospect, but the other 2, sure.
we do, especially with that open enrollment piece.
Yeah.
Commissioner Alford?
Required opening enrollment, did that bill fail?
Yes, sir, it did.
So we're not going by that bill at all because it failed, right?
It failed.
So
Yep.
we don't have to worry about
Yeah.
open enrollment right now.
Open enrollment, that bill was for open enrollment across districts. So that would mean that if someone from I had space and someone from Hamilton County wanted to come, if I've got space, I could not deny them. That bill did fail,
Okay.
failed
Yeah,
in the House.
so if the state's requires advertising to capacity, why would we ever expand schools if the state requires you capacity? Why would we keep adding so they'd add more students?
We're not expanding because of that open enrollment law. We're expanding, only places we're expanding is where we see growth that is going to occur and happen. So what they're saying is statewide, remember, it's not just about Bradley County, statewide, there are buildings that may be partially empty. And they're saying you can't keep your buildings partially empty. We're going to open this enrollment up. But you're not planning for that. I mean, like if I hit my capacity, I don't take students after I've hit the capacity. But if there's a brand new subdivision that's being built in and they're zoned for my schools, I do have to look at that.
Commissioner Mason?
Dr. Cash, what's roughly the total at Waterville from students?
I don't want to give you a number because I really need to verify it, but they are in the 600 range. They're above 600.
Commissioner Blake?
This may be more of an internal thing, but if the city is doing the same studies and calculating their new subdivision, ones I just mentioned and probably some others, for their capacity studies and they're proposing schools, and we're using that same data for ours, isn't there an overlap? I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but it's one I'm going to dig into.
I can't answer that for them. We only look at the ones that are close to existing
Yeah,
schools.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'll dig into that a little bit more.
Other questions? Mayor? Any questions? Okay. Any other questions related to projected district enrollment numbers?
What was that, ma'am?
Any other questions?
Yeah, are we going to ever get any direct actual numbers?
Yes, sir. We'll get those to you. But I will tell you, they're going to change from March to April, April to May. We won't have the actual numbers that are coming into August until like late July.
Is the state changing funding? So usually after the first month, don't they set their funding kind of after the first month attendance?
They do not.
Have they changed that?
Yes, sir. They pull numbers every month now, but they will, like your first numbers that you're going to get in round one come about late October, somewhere in there, late October. But then they pull them again in November, December. They're pulling them all the time, And then at the end of the year, like they'll go, like when they pull, they're pulling the numbers that they have right then on that day. And then a month from then, when they pull again, and then they collapse it all into one and do an average. But the last numbers they pull are what you're going to be funded on. There, it used to be you had quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. They don't do that anymore.
So when do y'all get paid?
We roll July 1.
So is they gonna send you one big check July 1?
They still just, and Ellen may be able to answer that better than I can.
The state divides our TISA payment over 10 payments, and we do not get a payment in, I believe it is August and May, I think. There's 2 months that we don't get a TISA payment. They divide it over 10. And so once they do that final calculation, then we start getting 10 equal monthly payments.
So if you're getting 10 equally month payments, they're getting a total enrollment each month then, in order to pay you.
The payments are, the amount that TISA is based on, they take an average of all 9 20-day reporting periods, and that locks in July, and that's based on, so the ADM, or the average daily membership, for this school year is what drives next school year. So that set of data is finalized at June 15th. And once it is finalized, that number locks in and does not change again. And then in August 1, when period 1 starts for the next school year, that kicks off, and then that is what funds fiscal year 28. So it rolls a year behind.
But the numbers of students, you say, changes constantly. How do they know how much to pay you each month?
TISA is based on the class schedules, and so that locks in on how they basically take a kid and lock them in on how many minutes they're in a schedule. So we work with our guidance counselors very closely to make sure they are scheduled for the maximum number of minutes, and it is driven on their schedule. So they take the whole 20-day period, see what their schedule is, and then that 20-day period is then added to all 9 periods for the year.
But you turn in a number of students each month.
Yes.
So it should be a correct number, shouldn't it?
It should be, but it is not. They're also
So what if you have, excuse me.
they're also paying you on a different set of criteria with weights. So you have your students base, which is the 9.5 something, whatever
yeah,
the
base, the
new
75.
calculations. But then they are adding funding for CTE, for special ed. They add a lot of different funding. I think those are the fluctuations, but what it shows up as is either that, like let's say that student was receiving tiered intervention and we got paid for that, they move out, then it's going to reduce it. So it's not all based on average daily membership.
I'm just trying to figure out how they know how many students they pay you for each month.
Well, they don't. I mean, I think what she's saying is this school year, the enrollment every month for this school year that the state is getting, they will calculate and say you're worth $700 million. And they take that $700 million, divide it by 10, and that's what she will get for the 26-27 school payment every month. They're paying them for next year for this year's enrollment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so in the next school system, next school year, they will send the numbers every month. And on June the 15th, they'll say, okay, this year you're worth $800 million divided by 10. And this is what you get for the 27-28 school year. So they're not getting paid every month this year for this year's students.
Correct.
So that number, you should have confidence in that number. It's past history.
We review those numbers every month when we get those.
Are you allowed to amend those?
Yes,
Okay.
up until June 15th.
Up until June 15th?
Yeah, up until after June 15th, we're done.
And then you know what you can have confidence in your budget projection on the revenue side for TISA.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
because you know
Yes,
after June
'cause
15th what it is.
Yes, once we get that July final, I know that TISA number is not going to change.
So I'll give you an example. So when we run our numbers and the state runs theirs, they've taken away our ability to basically compare apples to apples. So like one run, they lost like 70 of our students. They just disappeared, but they're there. So we had to go back and go, hey, we're missing 70 students, and we have to track that back down to see what kind of technical error made us lose those students. So it's an ongoing kind of, you're constantly looking, are their numbers the same as our numbers, or is something incorrect here? So you're constantly having to look and do it. And there, at one point, and I don't remember when it was, we opened up the system, and like 300 kids were gone, and we're like, whoa, what happened here? So then Wendy has to go back and track, where was the technical error, why is it wrong? And it's usually some minute little,
Like a course code.
a course code or something, and it's missing. So you're constantly doing that.
So like in the instance with like the CTE kids, a course code changed at the state level, but that didn't get fed into our actual attendance system. So because we had the wrong course code, it didn't actually pick up in the TISA formula. Once we realized it, we went back, changed the course code, and then they were there on the next pool.
I chuckle because TISA was supposed to eliminate all the functionality and the algorithms and all the mathematics from the old, was it the old
BEP.
BEP.
BEP,
Yeah.
and we're going right back to where we
Yes.
were. But that's
Yeah.
the state
Yeah.
on that. But I do have another quick question on that because that's an interesting point. Dr. Cash, the science wing, is it going to be considered expanding your capacity or expanding opportunity for current students?
That would be opportunity for current students, because we're doubling up on classes now. So like when a teacher is on planning, I have another teacher coming into that classroom to teach. So that would not be expansion.
So you don't know, because not all times when you're building stuff is for more students.
Correct.
And that would be a case
Correct.
in Pi Center as well, right? I mean,
Right.
Pi Center isn't so much expanding your capacity for new students, it's more opportunity for the current
Yes.
students.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
that goes back to that student schedule.
That's
There's,
what she was talking
yeah.
about right there.
Yep.
Any other questions related to district enrollment numbers?
nobody fully understands TISA and how it's working.
Well, we were up in Nashville the day they introduced it, and they said, "Oh, this is going to make," everybody hated the old system because it was a formula so big and
Yeah.
whatever, and we're right back.
So I'm not sure that we, and I don't mean this to sound ugly or disrespectful, but I don't know that we really care about the number fluctuating. Can we get what the enrollment is for today, April 1st, 2026?
It probably won't be today's
Yeah, you don't
date.
have to
Yeah.
give it to us
No,
today, but
it may not be today's date. Well, but it would be the most recent pull, and I'll get Wendy on that. So you're
Okay.
probably looking at a week or so before we can get that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then, and truly, we go back and have to check because it may or may not be accurate.
Okay.
From the system.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I don't want to be more trouble, but you should have it. Once you get the ADM's determined in June, and that's the number they pay you on next year. I'm often asked about numbers, of course. I don't care about all this formula stuff, but once you get the June ADM, let's say it's 9523, you would have on record last June's number and the June before. Those 3 years in comparison is what the people ask for a lot. And they get all kinds of numbers because of all this stuff that's being discussed. But would it make sense to take the ADM for June that you're going to be paid for next year and also list that same thing for June of last year and June the year before, so that we've got an apples to apples to apples of 3 years of ADM? I don't want to get into discussing how they come up with the numbers, and I understand the weighted and all that, even though I don't understand. But that might be an apples to apples answer to give people. Does that make sense? You nodded your head. I hope I'm making sense, because I'm just looking for a number that I can show them.
Yes, yeah, we can do that.
And wait till June to do it. That would be your latest one. And then have June of 25 and June of 24 sitting there waiting.
We can do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can we have June of 24 and 25 now?
Should be able to.
Okay.
It would be the final numbers that they gave us, yeah.
And then when you get June of 26. Okay. Any other questions related to district enrollment numbers? Item C.
So, you had asked and requested a letter from the Board of Education, aligned to the Bradley Central High School track. That's the letter you have in front of you. The board, we did run ads to request the RFQs at the March meeting. Those were put out. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we had, five people, contractors show up to look at it. We don't have any of that information back at this point. It is just to allow the county commission to be able to compare with using the same criteria for a track as to what that would be. So as soon as we get those RFQs, we would, at first, of course, the board would see them, and then we would send them to the county commission.
Any questions about the Bradley Central High School track project? Commissioner Alford.
Yes, I'd like to know what you had in your bid package, the requirements.
So we had received from Baseline Sports Group a proposal that I believe had been solicited by you guys, and we effectively matched that. We took proprietary names out of it, but we effectively matched scope from that, and took the proprietary names out of it to open it up to other bidders, and that was the scope that we went forward with. So it's removing the 6 lanes existing, and putting 8 lanes back. It's correcting the drainage and adding turf to the infield. It's all of the runways, the what they call the D zone, and all the field events, runways and pits for all the field events, and it's pads for high jump and pole vault. So it basically matches the scope that you had received. A couple of proposals from Baseline Sports Group. One was well over budget. One was right at 1.87, and that $1.87 million proposal is the scope that we use as a basis for this solicitation.
So when you solicited the bid, did you not think about a storage facility or fence or bleachers? Because I think one of the other bids had that in it.
Those
Or
are
one of the other proposals, not a bid.
correct, and on the presumption that that Baseline Sports Group's proposal to you was they are a TIPS contractor, and so presuming that was close, we did not want to overspend, and so we held the scope very, very close to that because that was at budget. If the bids come back and they are under that 1.8 million that's been allocated, we can certainly look at adding other things. But what we're trying to do is lay the foundation with this, correct the track, expand the track, and do the infield, and leave it in a way that other things can be added in the future. Other phases, improvements, field house, bleachers, other things that are on the athletic department's wish list, but are not currently in budget.
So you're gonna spend the 1.8 from us, from the commission
Yes,
that we gave you, to some degree. And is that all you're gonna spend? The school system not gonna spend any money on the track at all?
No, sir. What I would tell you is that is a board decision. So what they're doing right now is getting the quotes to bring them back to the commission, and then it would be up to the commission to decide if they wanted to put more or what they wanted to do with that project.
I'll wait till we get stuff.
Mr. Chairman, what's the deadline? When will you be getting those?
Bid openings are Tuesday of next week.
Bids are due April 7th. Okay,
Quotes.
quotes.
Commissioner Blake.
All right, so back to the expansions. We've talked about this, I think, a year or two ago. So we would Hopewell and I guess Parkview, Waterville. Your expansion capacity for all your schools. You've done a study on that.
Mhm,
Has it
we
been
did.
updated? I mean, like Taylor, I think or Oak Grove is the one that's landlocked, right?
Yes.
And can't expand too much unless you go up. Taylor, Valley View has the sewer issue. I'm just, that document, going by memory, which I shouldn't do, but you're expanding, at some point in time, you're not gonna be able to expand.
Right.
much
So
more.
I can give you a couple scenarios. I'm just going to take North Lee right now. So
That one
because,
we did to 4 classrooms, what, 3
right.
years ago? 4 years
so
ago?
after the work that the architects did at North Lee and that two-story model, because what we had at Hopewell, what we had was that drop, and we had to figure out how are we getting something on here with the drop. Using that model, we could go back to some of the schools and add that. But what you have to look at is if you start adding capacity, like Waterville, we're just adding for the capacities that's there. But if you start adding capacity, you have to look at your cafeteria, your gym, to be sure there
Right.
doesn't have to be more. So that would be, if we got in that sense, that would be what we would want to do. Is do we like North Lee actually all that land that's behind North Lee belongs to Bradley County Schools. So we're looking at that. Is there a possibility to relieve that north before we build a new school? Could we do that? Where we've got a drawing for Michigan Avenue. Is it more? And those are just decisions that have to be made with an architect. But we are looking at that. Our biggest issue is if you touch something, do you have to enlarge the other spaces?
So, I mean, I think we're in agreement, from years past conversations, that we would prefer you expand where it makes sense, before a new school is built. I think that's the position. I
It's
don't know,
working out
just
pretty
me,
well at
but-
Hopewell.
But that document, I'll try to find it, probably needs to be updated with what schools can be expanded.
Well, I know we could expand Oak Grove.
We can expand Grove?
Mhm.
I thought it was landlocked.
You're building with what you have, but that it wasn't a lot of classrooms. It was, you remember, 3 or 4. It wasn't a whole lot of classrooms. But the purpose in that was how do we get rid of the portables back there? What can we do? I'll look for those drawings too, Commissioner Blake, and see if we can get those sent to Lori. Again, you always look, do you have to touch the cafeteria and do you have to touch the gym?
Right, and that goes to what you just said. Are you expanding for current, like, you
Right.
already had the student there, they just showed up this morning,
Right.
versus the one that you're thinking is coming in,
Right.
future. But from your funding body's point of view, and just mine, is you'll be asked before you request a school, have you maxed out your expansion
Yep, I
capability?
understand that. Any other questions?
Any other business that we need to discuss today? Commissioner Alford?
Just, what are we expecting from now? The numbers, when you said,
A
weren't we
couple of
get,
weeks. We'll get them for you in a couple of weeks.
couple of weeks, we're gonna get the numbers at Hopewell, Black Fox, da-da-da-da-da-da. That's just class numbers
Yes.
only,
Yep.
broke out.
But they're also going to provide us the numbers that they provided the state for June of 24 and June of 25.
Okay.
Any other business? Mayor, do you have anything? Commissioner Alford? Commissioner Blake? Commissioner Mason? Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Cash.
Thank you.
Any communication from the audience? Anyone in the audience wish to stand and speak? Okay, with that, we're adjourned.